on the way. Meanwhile, to the football. And last Sunday, the Browns shocked the Steelers in the wild card round, a game in which Ben Roethlisberger threw 4 interceptions. And the big question now is, will the soon-to-be 39-year-old quarterback be back in Pittsburgh next year? Mike Tomlin was asked that yesterday.
In terms of the quality of his play and our play, we'll begin to assess that in the upcoming days. But in terms of him responding to the challenges that he specifically came into the season ready to face, spectacular. I don't have a clear assessment of the overall impact of the cap ramifications, so I might not have a direct answer to your question, but I think it's reasonable to assume that there's a chance that he's going to be back, certainly.
Well, to be clear, when he talks about the cap ramifications, that's the number he's talking about. As of right now, Ben Roethlisberger's cap number for next year is something like $41.3 million. So clearly that's something they'll have to work on. And so as I bring this out and we talk about it, let's start with Adam Schefter. Because, Schefter, I feel like every time we've brought this up in recent weeks, you've made it pretty clear that sorry you got me with that. You made it pretty clear that you believe Roethlisberger and the Steelers can figure out the money piece of this, yes?
Well, they have to. They have to do something to address that portion of the deal because, again, as of a few weeks ago, Ben Roethlisberger intended and wanted to come back and play in 2021. Now, he did not look like that was the case on Sunday night. At the end of the game, you saw him and Marquise Pouncey sitting on the bench, almost taking it in as if it could be their last game. But if Ben Roethlisberger does want to come back as he had wanted to, at that point in time, they're going to have to address that salary cap situation and figure out how they can make it work. The problem is, if you extend it, do you want to extend it when he may be playing only one more year? We're seeing quarterbacks in his draft class, again, see their careers come to an end. Eli Manning's already retired. There are questions about Phillip Rivers at this point in time. Plus, Ben Roethlisberger's performance seemed to drop off as the season went on, though he wasn't helped by the fact that they didn't have a run game. They have to address it one way or another. It starts with that salary cap, and I guess it starts really with whether Ben wants to play, but the sense has been all along that this would not be, and he didn't want it to be, his last season.
So, Louis Riddick, let me come to you then on this thought. Some might look at it and say, it is time, looking at the way they're seeing what their next quarterback situation is going to be. Do you believe the time has come to do that?
Yeah, I think you have to prepare past 2021. You just can't look at 2021 in a box and go, well, look, this year as far as, will Ben take a pay cut? Do we extend his contract, convert some of his money to sign-in bonus money, and again, wind up having to face these cap ramifications down the road? I don't think you can do that. I think you definitely have to start looking 2, 3, 4 years down the road and figuring out, look, we probably don't have our quarterback of the future on the roster. Our present quarterback's going to be 39 on March the 2nd. We better come up with a long-term plan here, because unless we really fortify this offensive line, make the run game a more critical part of this offense, and give him some help from a run-pass balance standpoint, we're going to be in trouble here. And that's not to be disrespectful to Ben. That's just being honest about the situation. So there's a lot of different angles that they have to look at this situation from. And first and foremost, though, is making sure you get this contract squared away, because right now it's just untenable. You can't have him on the roster at that number.
But, Nick, assuming they can figure out the money in a way that works for everybody, would you be in favor, if you were the coach or you were making this decision of saying it's been an unbelievable run for Ben Roethlisberger, but the time has come to figure out the next quarterback?
Absolutely not. I mean, given that organization, that's not the way that they function. They want to give their team the best chance to win that they can every year. You saw that last year when Ben got hurt and they had a first-round pick, and rather than waiting to draft a quarterback with it, they traded it away to get Minka Fitzpatrick and to make a run to go 8-8. And I respect that about that organization. That's part of the reason why they're never bad, is because of that type of mindset. And I wouldn't throw that out the window right now just because you're panicking. I think you try to bring Ben back, and also maybe you look into free agency or you look into the trade market. Because of that established culture in Pittsburgh, I think that would be an attractive place for all the quarterbacks that may be available this offseason. And you're right, what Louis said, they haven't really found an established replacement for Ben in the draft. So maybe they need to go back and do that also this year. They need to really attack this position with all their assets going forward, including reduced salary Ben Roethlisberger.
I'm always interested in these when you have the aging legend, how you handle as graceful an exit as you can under the circumstances. We'll see that will go. Meanwhile, Schefter, as you continue to work the sources there, let me come to you and let's run the hurry up through a bunch of stories around the league right now. And let's begin with the Rams and their quarterback situation for the playoff game at Lambeau Field. What's the latest?
Well, look, Rudy, John Wolford hasn't taken any snaps during practice this week. And it's Thursday, but in the NFL world, it's really Friday because these teams play Saturday. And so if John Wolford hasn't taken any snaps, that would seem to indicate that Jared Goff is on track to start Saturday's game. Now, the question is, will the Rams use Wolford? Do they want to try to bring him back at some portion of the game? He brings a certain different element to that offense, and we'll see how that plays out here in the next 48 hours. As for the Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, who got interviews with every team with a head coaching vacancy except for the Houston Texans, right now, it doesn't look like he's on track to get one. We'll see how this shakes out, but in speaking to people around the league, they don't sound overly optimistic that Bieniemy is going to come out of this cycle with a job. If he doesn't, that's going to be troubling for a lot of people. A lot of people still pulling for him to get a job. We'll see whether one works out for him. And, of course, everybody's always waiting on Urban Meyer. And, again, we'll see how that shakes out. But it seems like he's been in discussions with Jacksonville at this point in time. Everybody's waiting for a decision. I think Jacksonville is doing a thorough search right now, a process on Urban Meyer. But I would think that we get a decision this week at this point in time, Greeny.
Yeah, usually these things come a little quicker than they have so far this year. A lot of extenuating circumstances with the pandemic, et cetera. So we'll see when these things start to fall. Meanwhile, looking ahead to this weekend's games, certainly the most interesting one, or among the most interesting storylines, is these two legends going head to head, right? Buccaneers getting their third shot at the Saints this season. They dropped their first two meetings by a combined 46 points. Sunday's showdown in New Orleans will likely be the last time that Drew Brees and Tom Brady face each other, and that is something.
Tom and I have a friendship and a mutual respect. We were texting back and forth on Monday, just kind of chuckling at this, this whole scenario. Listen, he's 43. I turned 42 on Friday, so that's 85 years and a lot of football experience that's going to be on the field on Sunday. When Tom Brady signed with the Bucs, and I knew that he was coming to our division, I envisioned this game. So what was that? 9 months ago, 8 months ago. I envision this game happening.
Oh, Dominique, what do you think? They're texting each other on Monday. The respect is out there between the two. What is your reaction?
He envisioned this game. He envisioned Tom Brady on the sideline with his helmet on and one tear streaming down his face like Ben Roethlisberger because he destroyed him. That all sounds good. Tom Brady and Drew Brees, they know the game. They've been quarterbacks a long time. They tell us what we want to hear. But I can tell you, and we all understand the truth, those guys are incredible competitors, and they may love and respect one another, but they want to destroy one another right now. And that call on Monday was full of a lot of subtext. That those text messages that they were sending was like good luck, but really in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I hope something goes terribly wrong for you this week.